This is why, as a common sense Asian guy, I stopped giving money to the homeless people on the street. Let's take a look.
Generosity is a wonderful trait in a person and in societies. Yet time after time, giving morphs into something that hurts people.
Now, first of all, I do want to say that American culture is probably one of the most generous, if not the most generous society in the entire world. You have never met a group of people that's more generous than American culture, than American society in general, which is so good. Especially when you come here, I think one of the biggest cultural shock as someone who immigrated into the United States and become a proud citizen, which is that if you go to church, the people are so nice. Coming from an Asian country and you go to American church, you will truly experience what generosity is, like firsthand, which you have never seen anywhere else in the world. I think if there any trait that you would describe America that separates America from the rest of the world would be generosity. Other than that, it's actually hard to say or describe what is number one feature of America. Freedom of speech? Not really. It's more of something that people say. But freedom of speech in America has huge prices, right? Literally, people die for freedom of speech. I'm talking about literally. People get killed for saying stuff that, supposedly freedom of speech. So you can't really describe that, right? Freedom? Are you sure you actually live in a free society when the elected officials do not even do the things that you elected them for? Or I don't even know most of the time why those elected officials are in office. It feels like none of them, for example, LA, right? Karen Bass, the current mayor, are saying, I was just watching her speech because I think she just won a majority of the votes, and she was saying, guys, I'm going to clean up the tents. Acting like she is not currently the mayor. She is the incumbent mayor. I was like, what? Bruh, you could have done it now, right? Anyone with common sense could have, just understood. Why have you done it already? Why is that all of a sudden something you want to do in the future? Well, obviously, I would be happy if she does it, but it just doesn't make any sense. So supposedly the freedom is not really free, right? So I would say the number one feature that describes America, separate America from the rest of the world in a positive way would be generosity, right? There are a lot of things that actually now, sadly to say, modern society, America actually lacks compared to the rest of the world. So nothing really stands out. You can say AI technology, sure, but then that's not really a culture, But anyways, let's continue.
Sometimes that's on a national scale. Haiti is the most screwed up society in the Western Hemisphere, yet it has over 10,000 charitable organizations.
Bro, America helped Haiti so much. Ever since I came to the United States, it seems like every single president, maybe with the exception of Trump, but every single president has talked about, we got to help Haiti. We got to help Haiti. There has been so much money going to Haiti. There's always hurricane. There's always humanitarian efforts going on in Haiti. I don't even know where this place is. Why? Why are people still living there? I guess it's really hard. I mean, that's just joking, by the way, but it's really hard to move, especially when your entire family and your business is over there. Because I'm in Austin, and then to be honest, I have thought about relocation, and it's really hard to move. I love Austin. Despite all the challenges, I still love Austin.
Running the most basic services. They outspend the Haitian government by a 3-to-1 margin.
Bro, charity? Outspend the Haitian government 3-to-1. How? How much money did we give Haiti? No way, right? Hold up. All right, guys, we gotta look this up. All right, I just don't know. Okay, how much money does U.S. give Haiti each year? I would say in total. Haiti in total as charity. Let's see, right? By the way, if you look up Haiti just on Google, right, you get an idea of where it is. It's next to Cuba. It's next to Puerto Rico. I wonder if there's a travel area there. Let's take a look. U.S. provides hundreds of millions of dollars annually in foreign aid, humanitarian, development, economic to Haiti, which is primarily a form of charity or official support. This comes mostly through USAID. Oh my God, State Department, other agencies. Dude, I've heard so much about USAID when Elon Musk first got into Doge project in the US government. It it was such a fun time. You know, people criticize it all the time, but it was such a fun time. There's so much news, you know, and then Elon Musk also using that to hype up the Dogecoin, which is pretty cool. I don't own any of Dogecoin. I thought it was, you know, U.S. politics, such a fun time. But yeah, so does U.S. government send money to Haiti in 2026? Let's see. Let's see if it's still sending money, right? After Doge. Let's take a look. Because it's very, very important. Yes. Really? As of June 2026, foreignassistant.gov shows 590 to 591. Okay, well, 591 million in obligation to Haiti. In obligation. Why obligation? When does charitable effort become an obligation? Aid continues primarily as humanitarian assistance, plus some security development support. We have World Food Program for emergency food, hundreds of thousands of people, including school meals. Okay, that makes sense. But $591 million obligation, that's crazy. 2026 appropriations resorted some foreign aid after major cuts. 2095, Congress pushed back on deeper proposed reductions, directing targeted funds for Haiti priorities like security, humanitarian needs. Bro, I feel like there's so much scams in there. Like, you know, look at the scams domestically. Now, amplify that 1,000 times because this is an international affair. It's even harder to track with all the stuff that's going on there, right? Like, if it's hard enough to check all the domestic agencies, think of like where the U.S. government has full control. Think about Haiti. Once the money is going there, it's gone. Bro, this should not be allowed, I think. Aid flows mostly through NGOs, UN agencies. Bro, when I see NGOs, I see a big just red flag that shows scam. I don't know. Why are we paying taxes, bro? I think all federal taxes should be cut until this stops. But let's take a look.
And yet those charities have helped keep it a failed state. We've also seen it on a personal level. Spoiled children who've become useless adults, enabled the whole path by loving parents. It certainly feels good to give money to a parent.
That's totally true. Like when you give kids too much, they become spoiled adults. I've seen that in firsthand, especially in our industry in esports. There are a lot of really spoiled adults, right? And there are some people that we manage right now in our agency. I wouldn't name names, but I can totally see that. And I feel like when the kids can do something, if we help them do it, and I've watched a lot of educational videos who try to start a family at this point, it's actually so bad, right? Because it just, if you can do it for them, why would they do it ever themselves? It's so true. Let's continue.
Panhandler on the street, and it certainly helps them out in the moment. But at the same time, it also enables them to stay in an awful living condition. About
the homeless people, bro, on the street. I remember watching a YouTube video and the way they went undercover. They give this homeless girl money in California. It turned out she lived just around the corner in I think 4,500 square feet or something, like in a big house. You know, she makes more money because she's now working. So she's claiming government support, plus the money she gets from just begging for money in the street corner. Together, than someone who would work full-time at any job in California. Like not any job, but you know, in a honest job. Like if you work at a restaurant, if you work at a fast food restaurant or service industry. Bro, that's such a sad state that we're in, to be honest.
2/3 of Americans give to charity, and that's probably a number that holds up in most countries.
Yeah, we all do.
And they assume that giving equals helping, and it often does. Economically, the world is becoming a better place.
To be honest, like my wife love to give to charities that supports homeless animals. But even then, I feel like there's no way to track. I guess we're doing it for our own conscience. Like I feel good donating, right? But like, does the money actually go to the animals? I can never track. Like, I feel like charity, unless you're given directly to the person who needed help or the animal who needed help on an individual basis, there are a lot of scams. Like all these organizations, because we also work with a lot of school organizations where, you know, we do a lot of collegiate events with our company. And I feel like there's so much scams in there. Like there are organizations popping up representing this school, this university, that college, and this, like, I never really knew what they do, but yet the people are well fed and they travel first class. And I was like, bro, I work so hard and we take economy all the time. Like, actually most of the time, 99.9% of the time, right? To upgrade, I do it on a personal basis. If I'm super tired and I only do it with benefits, from the points have accumulated a lot. But I just see like the people from these orgs, they travel first class all the time. Like, bro, how did that happen? How did that happen? I don't know. I just know they got a lot of money, and I never knew where the money come from or what did they do with the money.
Place. But the elephant in the room is this. What if our good intentions are actually hurting the people we're trying to help? I'm Ken LaCourte. I dig into uncomfortable topics and try to give you straightforward answers. This one changed how I think about giving entirely, because many times charity isn't the solution, it's the problem.
You know what? If Ken LaCourte was my history teacher in college, I would have actually paid attention. I studied civil engineering, and then we were required to take literature class. When I first came to the United States about, how many years? 17 years ago? No. I'm not that old, but I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, many, many years ago. Yeah, I didn't like literature. I escaped China because I didn't like, I like Chinese history and literature. I'm just really bad at it. I'm not good at exam. I love the stories. I just couldn't memorize them. And then I came to the States, and then they require you to take American literature. I was like, oh gosh. I couldn't remember any names. This is horrible. But if Ken LaCourte would have been my professor, I think it would be different. Just for the record, I was like top 5%. I got the rope when I was in UT Austin. I went to the ceremony, got the rope. And then I was like 3.99 GPA. And right after I took the literature class, everything just went downhill. It all went to shit. I don't know what happened. I think it's the literature.
My goal here isn't to say all charities are worthless. Not by a long shot. It's to help you, if you're looking to help others, do it in a smart way. We'll kick off looking at the problems with charities, problems that nonprofits can bring to the equation. Then we'll take a high-level peek at charity donations, because sometimes helping hands can harm millions of people. Then, the opposite. Grassroots giving that has little overhead or organizational problems, but has its own troubled math.
I think the only thing I want to mention is charity donations. Like, how much charity are we doing donations? Because U.S., it seems like you're owing so much debt, like in general, right? Like, we cannot, by the way, the tax income United States have right now cannot pay for the interest of the debt. It's not sufficient to do that. That's such a scary moment. It's like, I watched a lot of Dave Ramsey show there's one episode about a girl calling in. I cannot make the minimum payment. Like, this is literally where U.S. is right now. We cannot make the minimum payment of the interest, not to mention the debt, right? The thing is, though, like, we have the Federal Reserve, ever since, like, United States, the Bretton Woods Agreement, like, gotten away from it and start printing money, just unlimited amount of money. That's why money is worth nothing, by the way. Like, I think 1975, the amount of money it takes to buy gold, you can work like four weeks. Now it takes 4 months to buy the same amount of gold. Think about the purchasing power of your money, right? It has been decreasing because they just kept on printing money. And if you think about it from a common sense perspective, printing more units of money doesn't make the goods become, let's say, for example, if a cup used to cost like $1 in 1975, now it's cost $20. It's still just one cup. Printing more of the money only made the number go up, but the value of the cup never really increased. However, the income of the society, of the working class, didn't really increase at the same rate of how much they're printing the money. So it just all went downhill, right? Like, I think the charity to nations is such a scam because U.S. is in debt. It's like you would never loan other people money when you don't have money, when you're in debt. But we're doing it as a nation because we have unlimited money. They're just printing as much as they want. Oh, you need money? Well, if I'm getting a kickback, let me print some more. I think that's exactly what's happening, actually. Any common sense would think that's just what it is. Otherwise, how would any responsible nation say, like, let's give other nation money when we're owing, like, I think $30-something trillion. I can't even comprehend that number, by the way. Because if anyone would have like 1 million, that's life-changing. And what is a trillion? That's 1,000 billion. And 1,000 billion, 1 billion is 1,000 million. That's basically $1 million. And we have 37? Hold on. What is U.S. national debt right now? Let's take a look. I think we're owing like 37 national debt. Let's take a look. Treasury. 39 now, bro. Like not too long ago, I thought it was 37. We owe $39 trillion. How do we pay that back? Oh my God. I kid, bro. 39 million. You know, you thought like houses are expensive in Austin until you look at this number. There's nothing too expensive in Austin, right? Think about this. Dude, every time I look at those cases where now a lot of fraud has been discovered, and people say, this guy's only defrauding like $3 million. Oh, shut the hell up, biatch. $3 million can change my life. How about you shut the hell up? Like people, $3 million is nothing compared to national GDP. Like, why don't you go find a bigger fish? No, I want every single penny discovered, right? I want every single one who defrauded those money to go to jail. Every single penny. Like literally $1 million can change majority of people's life in this country. How can somebody say, oh, I only defrauded like, $3 million? Dude, shut the hell up. Okay, let's continue.
Then, perhaps most importantly, the psychology of dependency, because it's both real and it's at the heart of the entire issue. And finally, we'll take a look at what actually works. Now, there are a lot of types of charitable causes, from medical research to animal rescues to the arts. Here, I'm just focusing on the ones that aim to directly help people improve their lives.
Okay.
So let's first start by taking a look at charities themselves. The organizations that ask us for money to do good things.
Is it WHO?
Now, I don't want to trash that whole world by any means, but organizations are made of people. And people run the gamut from good to bad, hardworking to lazy. So outright charity fraud is rare, but we shouldn't pretend it doesn't exist. The founder of the Modest Needs Foundation embezzled about $2.
Well, before I get into the special case, right, of this story, like I have a friend, a real life friend who I would say dedicated her life, but ever since I knew her, she was like, I want to do nonprofit. And one thing that I never understood from a common sense logic perspective is how does nonprofit works? Like how does the organization survive, if it's nonprofit? Like I think the best way for anything, even recently, I think Jeff Bezos did an interview and he said he did so much good for his for-profit company, Amazon, to the world compared to all his nonprofit, charitable actions combined, which is so true. Because I don't understand how can you be a nonprofit in a lot of ways, especially you're just asking money from the for-profit people, like people who made money, and you call yourself nonprofit, but you're just taking money from the other people to do stuff that you think, or at least you try to preach is what you try to do, right? Because a lot of scams out there. But let's just say this person's actually want to do something that helps the humanity or helps whatever this person wanted to help, but you're still taking money from other people. And then the biggest problem I see with that is sustainability. Like how do you sustain that? That's number one. Number two is, I guess, the issue with the helping itself, right? Because if you keep on helping people, a lot of the help are actually fraud. And there's no way for us to find out. They might be like well-intentioned to actually help, but who are they actually helping? We just don't know, right? So let's take a look.
$2.5 million meant for low-income families. Instead, it went to his luxury Manhattan apartment and a high life with a fake board of directors that included his bartender and housekeeper.
You know what? This is literally exactly how I felt about a lot of the school organizations. Like literally, they travel first class. Some of them live abroad and then live overseas. And they're doing like educational esports program. I just don't know. Like, I just don't know how that worked, Like, we worked our ass off providing opportunities, projects. We try to compete for projects, do a good job, provide value for influencers, for the community. And so hard to make just a decent living, And these people, I never know exactly what they do. And they always travel first class. I wish I can do that, right? But like... Because I literally, sometimes when you sit on the airplane, and there was one time that truly shocked me. Because like traveling international is very tiring. Like especially we did quite a bit from Asia to America, and then there was one time I was at I think Econ Plus. Like my seat's right behind the business class, right? And then there was a family right in front of me. I think it was an Indian family. It's a father, mother, 2 kids taking out 4 seats of first class. I was like, how much money? Because I look up the flight ticket. It was like $15,000 one way. It was like a long haul, you know? Like how do you, it's a $60,000 then, if they didn't get any discount, they might booked early. I don't know the exact situation because the price changes. And sometimes you can get first class tickets for like 3,000 points, 3,000 US dollar worth of points in a way. So one way. But even then, right? 3,000, let's just say $3,000, you got it early, times 4 is $12,000. Spending $12,000 on one-way flights, you have to be making, I don't know how much, because I don't know how often those people travel, but at least like $1 million a year, I suppose, right? That's, I think, doable for a lot of executives in the United States. But still, it's a lot of money. But to spend $60,000 if they bought it right there, it's a lot of money. And I was just wondering, bro, like how did these people from all this org, so-called nonprofit, school educational esports org, able to do this? We literally work our butt off. Well, anyways, I'm repeating myself.
The president of United Way, one of the most trusted charities in the country, was sentenced to 7 years in prison for using donor money for lavish vacations and mistresses.
Damn. You know, there was one, I think WHO China, the chairman, not too long ago, I heard a news that it was regarding one of his mistress didn't get the money, exposed him or whatnot. If we find out how much money they were scamming. I think this is not really a national thing. It's a human nature thing. That's why I don't believe in any of these, right? The charity, now all my charitable actions are just in person. You know, like, especially when you go to poor areas, you see people that just can't walk. Then you just have to help. Like, you do what you can. Or certain GoFundMe actions. Those are actually legit, right? The recent breaking minifix issue with Brian and his family, Eric, his father, 83-year-old, their life savings is gone. Certain things are actually good. I feel like all the charity need to be replaced immediately by AI and technology and platforms. No one should be the intermediary for a charitable act. If we give money to something, you should go through a machine directly to somebody who is taking that money, who needed the help, right? Usually it's like after a natural disaster or whatnot. Like after every natural disaster, everyone should help.
Of course, in many ways, the biggest charity operation is the government itself. Food stamps, housing assistance, cash welfare. The fraud and waste there dwarfs the private sector.
Absolutely.
The USOMB estimates bad payments for welfare programs alone exceeded $66 billion in 2024.
Bro, how much money did they discover was Doge? Like, hold on, let's look it up. How much fraudulent money did Doge discover when Elon was in charge? Kraken, you can give a very generic question like this and see what it says. It will give you a timeline or tell you like this is what they use as a logic. Right, led by Elon Musk and also alongside Vivek. Vivek is such a smart guy. From early 2025 until Musk's departure around mid-2025, a claim that have identified, addressed different ways fraud, and I need the number. Total estimated saving, $215 billion. January 2026, combination of contract grants, lease cancellations, workforce reductions. This includes $61 billion from contracts, $49 billion from grants, smaller lease savings. Unemployment insurance claims $382 million in fraudulent claims. Oh my God. Payments to people over 115-year-old under age of 5. Brother, like, you know what pissed me off, right? I think anybody who saw this would be like radicalized. Like, cause where is my portion of the claim? You know, I wanted to fraud this, right? I want to be part of it. Because you work so hard in your job, in your contract to provide a service, to provide opportunity for your own staff or own employees. And look at this. You don't have to work. You can be 115 years old dead and you can get $382 million. Unemployment insurance. Jesus, man. Like, the thing is, what I don't understand is the money has a destination. At a time, I remember Doge when they were doing this, the only thing I was thinking about is why is no one in jail? Why is no one held accountable? All they were saying is, oh, you know, they're saving here and there. It doesn't matter. Like, I didn't even know about this money, right? So I don't care. But I need to see people in jail. There's no one in jail, no one being executed, right? Like, bruh, like, what's going on? So I don't know. Like all this, I don't even know if I should believe this. The number that came out. Obviously, Elon Musk don't need this money. He was giving out millions per day in campaigns at the time. So, but the fact of matter is this is insane and no one was in jail. That really pissed me off at the time.
Food stamps had an almost 12% error rate in 2023,
Damn.
with over $10 billion going to the wrong people or in the wrong amounts. And for the cash welfare program, the feds can't even tell you how much it lost because states aren't required to report it.
Dude, the thing is, like, if they know all this number, why is it still continuing? Why American public allowing this to continue? I think the government should just be replaced by AI. Number one agency should be replaced by AI is government agencies. Like this year, I remember earlier when Trump got in office this year, I believe there was a huge effort. Maybe, no, not this year, last year. There was a huge effort of laying off federal workers. They should do that more extreme. There are a lot of federal workers that I think are just don't do anything. Because we know some people in real life, you know, so they just don't do anything. They get paid. And like, look at this. Like how much, I mean, but at least providing a job to people, right? If you're paying people salary. However, look at all of this, right? Like it's just, if anything need to be replaced by AI first, it should be the full government, right? Everything that's related to sending out money to different organizations to make the society function. Obviously, all the people need to be executed. For example, the people who work, like the fire department, police department, should still have all human laborers in them, teachers or whatnot, right? The medical staffs. But the PR department, right, or the treasury, why do we need people there, right? They should just be all replaced by AI. Because this is crazy.
But more common in the private world than outright fraud is bloated overhead. The United Breast Cancer Foundation raised over $45 million from car donations, saying the money would help fund breast cancer screenings. Investigators found that about $35 million of that went straight into the fundraising company and its vendors.
Damn.
Some went to high executive salaries, and just $127,000 went to actual breast cancer screenings.
What? Only $130,000 or 0.28% of more than 45 million that cars raised was used to provide breast cancer screenings. Oh my God. I'm not donating a penny to none of these organizations. Like,
heck, I remember giving a small donation to a children's hospital once, and over the next few years...
Dude, this is why you should never do that. Like, to any... Like, remember, like, when you check out at a Walmart or any supermarket, they ask you, do you want to donate $1 to the David Children's Hospital? Just say no. Just say no.
They pretty much spent all of that money in mailing me every couple months asking for more money. I mean, that might...
It's so true. Bro, you get so many mails. This is what I don't understand. Like, live in America, right? Because in China, you never get this kind of harassment mail, so you know how much it costs. Like, but ever since I came here, or ever since I bought my home and then, you know, become a homeowner in the United States, you got even just when I was in school and renting apartments. No, when I was a student, I never got any mails because I was poor. But when I started working and renting apartments, we started getting mails asking for donations. Like, bro, how much does it cost you to do that? I don't know how they actually handle the logistic. I just don't think it's free, right? How much money did you spend? What if you don't spend that money, ask for a donation? How about just like spend the money to actually do some good? I had that question then. Now it's being brought up by Mr. Ken LaCourt. It just doubled down on it.
It made sense on a macro level for them, but I wanted to help sick kids, and I didn't. Other charities morph from helping people to lobbying the government or becoming political entities. It makes it hard to trust where your money's going. Personally, I find...
Just don't donate to any of them. right? Let the rich people do their thing. Let them have their theater. But
Myself giving to the smallest organization I can, where I can see what they do as closely as possible. Others go to a site like Charity Navigator that helps donors see where money actually goes. Now, some experts warn against focusing too much on overhead ratios, but the more information, the better. And that points to a deeper problem.
that's why it has to all be AI. It has to be all be AI, bro. It should be none of the human giving away money. Because like it makes sense. Like if you need people who are handling this, obviously it takes human energy, and that person need to work, eat. But it's just it's unnecessary overhead. We're donating money to help the people who needed the help, not to provide another job that's unnecessary, right? Because it can't all be handled by AI and technology.
These measure what they actually do, not whether it works. They look at how many meals they serve or how many hours were volunteered. Almost none of them measure whether they actually improve lives or whether fewer people need help next year because of their work. So now let's look at places where bad patterns play out on a massive scale. Charity donations, where we routinely see the unintended consequence of helping people gone bad. Those problems usually revolve around dependency and displacement. Let's start with our closets.
What does displacement mean?
When most of us donate old clothes,
Like sending people to somewhere else?
we probably imagine them going to somebody dressed in rags who needs them. Here's what actually happens.
Okay.
About 70% of donated clothing worldwide ends up in Africa.
Okay.
It gives people cheaper clothing, and it's also gutted local industries. In Ghana, textile and clothing employment fell by 80% from 1975 to 2000.
What?
In Zambia, the industry went from 25,000 workers in the 80s to half that by 2002.
But they need clothes. I mean, this is such a dilemma, dude. Like when you see people, their home get destroyed or they're just living in an underprivileged area, and you have extra clothes. What's wrong? I don't know. Like donating them giving them the clothes is not like that bad. I don't know if this is directly related, to be honest. Because like you always want more clothes. Just because you got new clothes doesn't mean you're not gonna buy more clothes, right? We always buy new clothes. Like I went through evolutions of clothing myself. And I think every single one watching this video have done that too. That's why you always buy new clothes. It's a matter of frequency, but never a matter of, are you never gonna buy clothes again? You're not gonna wear clothes you probably wore. Everybody probably changed their clothes at least once or twice in the past 10 years. I don't buy a lot of clothing, but I still change there's a jacket I had for 15 years and I finally changed, right? Because I just wore them for a very long period of time. And it finally worn out. Same as my shoes, my working out shoes. I've worn them since college, and it finally the bottom got scraped in, and I can feel the ground with my toes, and I finally changed my shoes. But people still change clothes, so like people buy new things. I don't know how much that actually affects us, to be honest.
In Nigeria, textile manufacturing.
Maybe people just don't want to do clothing industry anymore. But I can see the connection though.
Once employed over 200,000 people, today that number is essentially zero. The clothes arrive in shipping containers, get sorted into massive warehouses, and are sold in open-air markets for almost...
But the thing, I can see the problem where you're selling, donated clothes. Then you don't have to manufacture them, so the jobs are gone. I can see that, because even Goodwill in the United States, they collect your clothing or whatever you donate and they sell them. So in a way, it replaced the need of people actually need to make them, which in a way like reduce jobs. Makes sense.
Almost nothing. In Uganda, secondhand clothing, it accounts for about 80% of all clothing purchases.
Damn, that's crazy. Then I guess my question is, what do you do with clothes that you don't want anymore? Do you sell them? Like, do I sell them? Nobody want to buy them. Unless I'm super famous or I'm like an OnlyFans girl, but I'm not, right? I'm not even that good looking. So nobody want to buy them. So what I do with my secondhand clothing then? I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't have a common sense solution to that. I guess throw it away. Like that seems like such a waste, no? Like if I seen a clothes I'm never gonna wear again, it's been sitting there for like 3-4 years, and I have quite a few of them, right? Because I don't change a lot of clothes. I think a lot of the guys are similar. Where if there's a few options that you constantly wear in this few years, you're just gonna stay in that rotation. I don't go back to find clothes I haven't worn in 4 or 5 years. just take them out. Okay, I haven't worn this for 5 years. Usually when I see a clothing I haven't worn for 4 or 5 years, I just give them away, right? Especially when my friends or family came over. If they see something that they can take away, unless it's something that I need to wear, but then they don't take them anyways. I don't know.
Local manufacturers, they can't compete with that. So an entire industrial sector across multiple countries have been wiped out by generosity. This happens far beyond the textile industry because when foreigners come in with cheap help, it often prevents vital parts of an economy from even existing.
I can see that.
If you want to see what decades of charitable dependency looks like on a national scale, Haiti is a great example. As I mentioned, it has thousands of NGOs, one of the highest concentration of aid organizations anywhere on earth. Most of them are doing exactly what they set out to do. They dig wells, run clinics, distribute foods, and build schools. Each one individually is helping. Now, I produced a whole video just on Haiti, and there I learned that these charities, they've taken over the basic functions that a government should provide.
Yeah, I can see. I see what Mr. Ken LaCourte is trying to say, right? Like, it makes sense. Like, it just charity replaced the need for the local community to do it on their own, which then disrupted the entire cycle of the entire society. Like basically the part of the chain is now replaced with charity. But the thing is, charity is not forever. So you basically disrupted industry, and then part of the industry can disappear at any time because they're not self-sustainable. That is actually so sad if you think about it, So in a way, we should never do charity. In this aspect.
Sanitation, electricity, clean water, education. The result is a government with no incentive to govern. Why build local infrastructure when a relief organization will do it for you?
Yeah, why not teach them how to do it? Like, why are you doing it for free? I guess the issue is doing it for free, right? See, like the smart way to go about it is, let's say if they need clean water, is send engineers and pay them well, and then go teach local people to do it, to learn how to set it up, to learn how to maintain it, so they can do it on their own. So that person can then teach the next generation how to do the same. That's how it works. And then this engineer can come back and do his own job. That's ideal way, I guess, right? Teach them how to fish instead of giving them a fish. But if you're just giving them free water, clean water, then there's no need. Like, just look at younger kids. The moment you start doing stuff for younger kids, they will never do that thing themselves because they know that will be taken care of. You should never help able-bodied people do stuff that they can do themselves, especially you know that they can do themselves.
How do you build the local capacities when outsiders keep showing up and solving those problems to whatever extent they can? Haiti hasn't been helped into self-sufficiency. It's been kept on life support and in poverty, and that affects millions and millions of people.
Damn.
Now let's flip.
This is literally awesome.
Let's go from the macro down to the personal.
This is a highway, IH-10. This is literally highway. This is a bridge. It's probably like next to UT Austin, some bridge under I-10.
Level, and take a look at grassroots giving. No fraud or bloated salaries, no government bureaucrats, just good, regular people trying to help through things like local food banks, building homes, or mission trips. Usually through small groups, often church-based. These seem like the purest form of giving, and they really are, but that still doesn't make the deeper problems go away. Because here, we see two issues arise time and again.
Okay.
Efficiency and, once again, dependency. Take food banks. What could be more straightforward than giving food to hungry people? But let's take a look at some numbers. In 2022, 49 million Americans depended on charitable food assistance. That's 1 in 6 people.
That is so crazy. This is a developed country. Like, there's so many people on food banks. It's insane. I've never seen this before, by the way. Like, because I grew up in China, and we saw homeless people when I was young, like everywhere. I think up until I was in, I'm not going to say which year, but let's just say up until around early 2000s, right? You still see homeless people. And it was so sad because remember, like, I live on the top of a mountain. And then, not to say like, our family was rich or anything, because usually when people associate live on top of the mountain with like Beverly Hills, no, not that type of mountain. All right. We're just poor. Like, because there's nowhere else to buy a house. So you live on top of the mountain, that type of mountain. So we're on top of a mountain. And I remember coming down the mountain, and there was like a factory right there, right? So they have like a heat pipes, big heat pipes on the side of the street. And there's a homeless person laying down the heat pipes. And this is like in the winter. And I live in the central China at the time. So where my home is, right? Like this is cold, right? In the winter, it just basically snow. Like where I live, there's 4 clear seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and fall. Autumn and winter. And when this winter is winter, it snows regularly. And it was snowy. And only where it was warm was on top of the heat pipe. But obviously, there's an insane amount of radiation. It's clearly not safe, right? It's just the heat pipe had like a wrapping on top of it so people don't fall on a, like, I don't know, a few hundred degrees Celsius heat pipe and die and get burned to death immediately. So there is some kind of insulation on top of the heat pipe, which make the insulation kind of warm. It's like we saw the steam coming out before. And we just saw, I remember clearly, because this had such a traumatized effect on me. And I remembered it. This one person was laying on a heat pipe, on top of the insulation, obviously, homeless person. And, homeless person in China at the time all looked the same. Their face is all coal covered, like black dots here and there, and then dark hair, big coat, all dirty. So he was sleeping there. And I remember I saw him because I would go on the same street to go to school. I remember I saw him for 3 days in a row. And my dad told me, and one time I was like, what? And he never moved. And on the 4th day, he was gone. And my dad told me he's already dead. And the city police came clean up the body. Nobody helped him because everybody was poor in that area, right? And then the police, obviously, there was no assistance from the city either at the time. So, but that was like early 2000s. And then ever since I got into middle school, or I remember high school, that phenomenon was gone. There's no more homeless people in my city. And it wasn't even a big city. It was like a very small city, right? Like you tell a lot of Chinese people about the city name, they don't even know. It's too small. They probably know the mountain next to it. We live in the mountains. And there was a very famous mountain called Wudang Mountain right next to the city. But nobody knew the city. So I tried. I told a lot of people nobody knew the city at the time. It was kind of funny. But that's not the point. The point was, I don't remember there was any assistance. However, the problem was fixed one way or the other because the government didn't incentivize that type of behavior. And people realize if they don't help themselves, they will die. I think that's what happened. And eventually the problem just solved itself. There was no more homeless in a few years afterwards. I literally don't see people sitting on heat pipe anymore. The city was clean. There was no more homeless. It was just I remember that story because it was so traumatizing. I remember seeing a guy just on the street on the same path and everybody walked past him. He just lay on the heat pipe because he didn't have anywhere else to go. Apparently he was dead for days and nobody noticed. I don't know. I don't even know how many days he was dead for. It was gone on the 4th day.
This isn't emergency help for families going through a crisis.
49 million.
Almost 60% of working households that use food banks, they do it routinely as part of their monthly budgets.
But to be honest, like if I can get food banks, I would, right? Why wouldn't I? If I can get free food money, like why wouldn't I get a few $100 or $1,000? I don't know how much you're getting, by the way. If somebody's telling me, hey, here's $1,000 extra to buy food, bruh, call me in, right? Like I will take it. I don't know how much you're getting. However, like, yeah, totally makes sense. Any common sense person, if you can get a few $100 extra per month to get food, everybody will take it.
Become permanent. And food banks, like most charities, measure their impact in output, not long-term results. Serving more meals is seen as a success.
I see. This is totally wrong. I think that this metric should go down, and that if the trajectory goes down, that should be a success. Like every charitable organization, if the ultimate goal is to dissemble the organization, that should be the ultimate goal. That should be that's when you know the organization is actually sincere about helping.
Not more people who've become self-sufficient. Volunteer home building is another direct, tangible form of help. I mean, putting real roofs over people's heads is undeniably a good thing. Habitat for Humanity operates in over 70 countries and has served millions of families. They explicitly welcome unskilled volunteers and tell them no experience necessary. They design homes to be volunteer-friendly to build. But a side effect to that is free volunteer labor means fewer jobs for local construction workers. Unskilled Americans fly in.
I don't know how effective that is, to be honest. Like, how many jobs are they actually replacing? Because if somebody needed to build a home, they clearly don't have enough people building home. That, like, I don't know how true the job replacement is if people are actually building home for other people.
And do work when they could have sent money to skilled locals who would have gotten paid instead.
But that makes sense though, right? Like if you're flying Americans over, this is what he said.
Fly in and do work when they could have jobs for local construction workers. Unskilled Americans fly in and do work when they could have.
Why is Americans flying over there? If anything, they should have just like paid money to local workers. That make more sense, right? To not volunteer, but just to do the labor and help. Why are you flying Americans over? That's basically some of the nonprofit that, you know, the female friend I had were doing. They would fly to other countries to do this type of stuff, right? Like, yeah, it never made sense to me at the time.
Have sent money to skilled locals.
Still doesn't make sense now, by the way.
Would have gotten paid instead. The volunteers go home feeling great, but it's a highly inefficient use of their money. The same dynamic occurs for people who go on mission trips overseas. The voluntourism industry generates between $2 and $3 billion annually and attracts millions of people each year just in the United States.
Bro, there's voluntourism? Bro, there's voluntourism? That's pretty cool. But to be honest, like I can see, because America's such a generous country, I can see why people want to go on a volunteer trip. I had a friend who just want to go on, like for example, the Olympic. I personally want to just volunteer. If I have an opportunity to volunteer at the Olympics, I would, right? I would pay for my own housing, and then I would probably generate a lot of money for wherever Olympic is going to be hosted, because I would just want to go. You know, so like 2 to 3 billion annually for voluntourism. That's pretty cool, to be honest.
People travel to a place in need to build, teach, or provide medical care. It's charity at its most personal. But again, let's look at the math. Let's say a person's volunteer trip to Africa costs $2,000. At local wages of $2 a day, that's enough to fund 1,000 days of work. That's a year-round job for 4 people.
Makes sense.
Even within the United States, the numbers often don't add up.
Well, if you're I think if you volunteer to go do something, you should pay for your own, right? That's what I think is make more sense, right? If you truly want to volunteer and you truly wanted to help, you should do it on your own, right? Then it's considered, that's what I'm saying. I want to volunteer for Olympics because it's just a cool thing to contribute towards. It's a cool sport. It's just cool, right? It's a good thing. It's fun. It's all the country getting together, but you should pay for yourself. If volunteer is being paid by charitable money, then that doesn't make any sense. I think that's what Ken LaCour was talking about here.
I mean, just a plane ticket for one volunteer costs about $600. That'll pay for a skilled or unskilled laborer in that area to work for a while. Researchers who studied short-term missions, they estimate that the vast majority of trip funds go to flights, hotels, and travel expenses.
Damn.
Not to the community being served.
And all this money come from your charitable money. That's crazy. Like imagine you donating money and this org use the money for flights, hotels, and travel experiences for voluntourism.
The work that gets done.
I thought the voluntourism was stuff that I was talking about. Apparently, the voluntourism that Ken LaCour was talking about is different. It's talking about using charitable money to do this for people who volunteers, you know?
Building homes, digging trenches, painting churches. It could have been done by local workers. And to be honest, the volunteers often do a mediocre job.
True.
The goal is helping a community, but the time and money spent in some ways weakens those communities in the long run. Overall, it's a reminder that doing something that feels good may not always be the best path.
You know, like I was volunteer when I was in school. I was part of the ASCE, American Society of Civil Engineering, and we were teaching kids. And I was in a school, and then there was another volunteer that just shouldn't be a volunteer because there was a physics question. And then I remember like the physics questions, it was like I was a volunteer who teaching that student. The student also had another teacher who was also a volunteer, right? And then that teacher gave him a homework to do. And I remember that physics question was so easy to me because I was like one of the best physics tutor when I was in UT. And then what happened was I saw the question, I gave him the answer immediately. I said, this is how you solve it, this is why, and then this is your answer. Because he got it wrong. We're correcting the question, he got it wrong. So I give the answer to him. He submitted the correction to the teacher. Next time I went, he said the answer is still wrong. So I asked the teacher, I was like, why is it wrong? The teacher said the answer from the answer book says so. I was like, okay, well, can you explain to me? Can you just do the question yourself? That teacher couldn't do the basic physics question, like physics 101 from, the freshman in any engineering school. You go to UT. He couldn't do it. He was relying on the answer book that was given basically in the book, right? That was given the homework for. So I was having so much issue with that. Why are you trying to be a teacher then? If you don't understand the question and you're just relying on the answer book, because you clearly can't even explain why he thinks the answer is right or wrong. He just tell the student the answer is wrong. It turned out, it was wrong initially, but I corrected it. And we didn't have AI at the time, so we couldn't check it, right? Then eventually it was just unsolved. It was solved, but the teacher didn't recognize it was solved because still not correct according to the answer book, and the answer book was clearly wrong from my perspective. Yeah, but there was no answer because the teacher didn't provide any explanation for his answer. This is so true. A lot of volunteers are just mediocre.
So in this video, we keep coming around to the question of, did it actually work? That's a question we all need to ask about personal finances as well, and it's where today's sponsor comes in.
Okay.
And too many people don't ask that question properly about their own investments.
I like that segue.
They chase whatever feels right, whatever performed well last year. They react to headlines instead of thinking long term. And then they panic when the bottom falls out.
Okay.
The people who actually build lasting wealth, they tend to think differently. They diversify.
All right.
They don't put everything in one basket, especially one basket that could easily drop overnight.
I like myself some mutual fund.
And for a lot of them, one of the baskets is physical gold.
Oh.
Because it's an asset that often holds its value when paper money and stocks don't. Today's sponsor is Augusta Precious Metals. They make buying gold easy, and it's a lot more complicated than it looks. They store it safely under your name in a bonded facility. They help you own it legally inside of an IRA with all the tax advantages that go along with that, which is huge. Their fees are reasonable, and I even did their video conference myself and saw that it was solid, useful information, zero sales pressure.
Interesting.
Augusta's been around for a decade, and reviews of them are great. So if you've been thinking at all about investing in gold, check them out, see if it makes sense.
Gold is a good investment.
Go to kenforgold.com or text RETIRE to 35052 for more info. All right.
I just don't know how much you should hold gold, but that's a different topic, obviously. How much percentage, because I was reading a book, The Game of Money by Tony Robbins. And then, I finished a long time ago, that book. And it was saying you should hold 5%. So that's what I did. But I prefer physical gold I can hold myself. And now it's by Bitcoin. Bitcoin has dropped quite a bit recently. Don't panic. Hold. That's my philosophy. Right? That's what I'm doing. However, you should hold some gold to, against inflation or whatnot.
Back to good intentions. Let's focus into the human
This is not a financial advice.
Brain and look at the psychology of dependency. Because often this isn't just about financial inefficiency. There's a human cost as well, something that took one psychologist 40 years to fully understand.
So true.
I started seeing charity differently after I read a book by Robert Lupton. He's a psychologist who spent his life doing urban ministry in Atlanta. He ran programs, organized volunteers, and watched what happened over the decades. He wrote Toxic Charity, How Churches and Charities Hurt Those They Help. And it's a book that really made me rethink the best ways to help people. In it, he shared a story about a Christmas adopt-a-family program he ran. Church volunteers would show up at housing projects with vans full of wrapped presents. The kids loved it, of course. The donors playing Santa Claus, they felt great too. But Lupton started noticing what it looked like from the other side. He saw a father watching strangers hand his children gifts he couldn't afford. He described how he'd watch the men retreat into the back of the room, avoiding eye contact, some left entirely. Their dignity was being stripped away by the acts of kindness. In front of their own children, they were being shown by generous, well-meaning people that they couldn't provide for their own families, that somebody else had to do it for them.
Bro, that is so true. I think for men, nothing matters more for the respect that you earn in a society. Every man aspire to earn a place in a society. And if you don't want to do that, well, be a man. But the idea is I can totally see that, right? If a father cannot buy a gift for a kid and then the kid really want a gift, don't buy the kid a gift or don't give him a gift. Don't take him to those places. This is such a problem, I feel like. If the father feel like he has to indulge the kid with a gift and then he can't afford it, so take the kid to a charitable event like this, It's sad, but I can see that happening. I can see tons of people doing this actually. Why wouldn't you get free stuff? But it just doesn't make sense. Like if I can't afford anything, my family when I was younger was really poor. And when I remember, like I went through like a toy store, and all the family, because a lot of my friends after our family become wealthier, a lot of my friends, childhood friends, their family are all really wealthy in the city, and then they had a lot of toys. But when I was a kid, I see kids have toys, and when I initially met them, when our family wasn't wealthy and they had toys I didn't, I would have cried to my parents. But they never took me to any charitable event to get those toys because there wasn't any. It was fine, you know? And I just saw my mom. See, one thing that impacted me the most is we couldn't afford any toys. And then I was crying because I remember those times. It was really poor. And I just remember my mom was working really hard to make money. Like she had many different jobs at the time. She was a taxi driver. She went to run a small restaurant that actually did really well, but the city shut it down because of permits. And then she didn't have money again. She eventually did a really successful franchise business. But I remember like when I was a kid, my family was really led by my dad, right? Like he wouldn't let my mom work, obviously. Like a lot of family at the time, you know, feminism wasn't a thing at the time, and then female wasn't really working. Very few, right? At least all my friends, their moms are usually stay-at-home mom and then cook or whatnot. My mom was really ambitious, and she wanted to provide for the family. She wanted to provide good education for me and my sister. So I just remember like she would go like, because my dad wouldn't allow my mom to work at home, you know, and which is obviously using current moral to look at it, it was like, oh, that's really horrible. But that's what happened at the time, right? So if my mom wanted to work, she couldn't stay home. And I saw my mom literally standing outside late at night under a street light, try to remember the description of her products that she can sell. And because that memory, that frame is in my head, and I memorized it, and it had a large impact on me that you have to work hard to earn the toy. You know, because our family never took me to any charitable event to get a toy for free. I've never gotten anything for free. And I had really bad luck, so never won any giveaways either. So like, I can see how this would destroy someone's mental. If you would take your kid and you saw your kid to get a toy from another man, like you cannot provide it. Just don't take your kid to those events. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with the type of people? Right now, if you think about it, that's actually really, really sad. It's like the same thing as you can't provide for your you know, woman, for your girl, and you have to have another man do it, bro. Ooh.
Lepton saw this happen year after year and started to see patterns that went far beyond Christmas. He saw that when help flows in only one direction, the whole dynamic is built on need, and that need grows. Recipients learn to wait rather than act. Lepton identified what he called the 5 steps to dependency.
5-step dependency, okay.
It starts with appreciation, genuine gratitude for help in a time of need.
Yeah.
But if the help keeps coming, appreciation shifts to anticipation, people waiting for the next gift.
True.
Then comes expectation. It's no longer a surprise, it's assumed.
You know, this is so true, right? When you give someone something, they want more of it. And they expect it to happen as a norm. You see this in workplace too. Like when you start giving giving staff gifts, which, you know, sometimes you do out of gratitude, because people work hard. But the issue is when the teams start expecting that as a norm. That's when there's an issue. Because like the business doesn't always make money. Certainly for our industry, because we need to work really hard to secure projects or whatnot. And when we don't, we just certainly don't make money. And we still have to pay all employees staff money, the salary or whatnot, insurance, all that kind of stuff. So it's just, I can totally see this, right? When somebody takes things for granted. And when you take stuff for, not granted, but initially they appreciate because it's a gift. And then they expect it to happen. That's when there's an issue. This totally happened. It's like human nature in general.
That becomes entitlement.
I felt it too myself. When my mom or my dad will give me stuff and I expect that to happen again. This feeling stopped when I become independent myself, like for a long period of time. But truly, now looking back when I was a kid or when I was younger and I relied on my parents for financial support, I had a huge sense of entitlement. Right? I expected help to come. That is, now I look at it, it's so bad. It is so bad.
Sense that help is owed. And finally, dependency, the inability or unwillingness to function without it. This isn't a moral failing of the givers or the recipients. It's just how humans work.
Human nature.
If someone keeps solving a problem for you, you stop trying to solve it yourself. It's why free food distribution didn't reduce hunger lines, it grew them. Volunteers who came to neighborhoods to
are they giving away beer?
And reduce hunger lines.
Wait, this beer boxes? Maybe just boxes. Yeah.
It grew them. Volunteers who came to neighborhoods to plant flowers and pick up trash, they weren't helping residents take pride in their community. They were signaling that the residents couldn't do it themselves.
You know, certain residents do need help though, because there are a lot of elderly families who truly cannot do it themselves. And there's like for the older neighborhood, they don't have HOA or whatnot that does it. So like I can totally see volunteer for those type of jobs is necessary. Like it's not about signaling. They know they cannot do it. I can see like if somebody's body able to do themselves, there's no reason you clean up their mess. It's like same thing as when we go on boot camps with a bunch of esports players and they can't even clean up their room or let their room smell. The issue is when they start not interfere, but their room smells so bad it start affecting other players. That's when there's an issue, and they start fighting with each other, and you gotta be an intermediary, right? And the player eventually will solve it because everybody start complaining. You cannot help body-able people to do stuff that they can't do themselves. I think that's a lesson. But if some elderly truly needed help, you should help.
The same family showed up year after year at the same Christmas giveaways, and nobody asked why they still needed help. Lepton described how one-way giving creates a hierarchy that's almost impossible to escape. The giver is permanently superior, and the receiver is permanently dependent. However warm the intentions, that dynamic can be dehumanizing and at the same time keep recipients from moving forward.
That's why charity should mostly direct it towards people who cannot help themselves, like, you know, not even disabled, I feel like, because a lot of disabled people that we've seen that I know are just really strong-willed people. They don't even want to help. I remember like trying to open the door for one person like in the gym, like he was kind of crippled, and I was opening the door and he's like, "No, I got it myself." Oh, okay, that's fine. You know, that's respectable. I just left. Normal people, right? It's totally fine. So I think that now looking at this, I think the only charitable action that makes sense towards animals, it is dehumanizing. If you think about it, the human psyche, how it works, you should only help animals. Because those people needed help, or elder people who cannot help themselves. A lot of elder people are really healthy.
At one point, he said,
I needed help from a lot of elder people. There's especially rich ones. Please help.
One of the surest ways to destroy self-worth is subsidizing the idleness of able-bodied people. I mean, that sounds harsh, but think about what it means to be on the receiving end of constant help.
Bro, like when you go on the intersections and you see those people who are totally healthy, young adults, like just holding a sign, need money. Like I never give them money, not even a single, because I just don't understand. If they just work at a McDonald's next door, they would get insane amount of money, right? Not insane, but in America, in this generous country, you're not gonna starve. If you just get an honest job, doesn't matter how late you started in your life, doesn't matter how screwed up you are in your current financial status. If you're willing to do hard labor, like honest labor, you're gonna have a good living, a decent living. There's housing for you, everything, right? Free medical assistance everywhere. Like, I truly don't understand when people say, oh, people are starving. Like, Donald Trump is taking away everybody's medical support. Like, where? I've never seen it. You know, like, literally, in real life, I've never seen it. It's such a generous country where everybody is taken care of if you just want to work. Like, the people on the intersection, like, that begging for money that can work, bro, like how what? Unless they're mentally crazy where they needed help, where they shouldn't even be in the public. They should be like in some rehab and doing work supervised then, right? In that case, they shouldn't be like in the public because it's dangerous. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make sense to you? It doesn't.
Every gift is a reminder that you can't provide for yourself. Every act of charity confirms your position at the bottom rung, the object of someone else's pity.
Is that how homeless people become permanent homeless? Is that how perpetual homeless people stay homeless? Like recently there was a case about like a supermodel. I forgot her name. I just remember reading that news about it. And she was a supermodel who became a drug addict or whatever and then become a homeless. People offered to clean her up, you know, return to former glory, help her to go to rehab. She declined it. Like literally a real life case of this. Human nature in display.
Humans have an innate need to feel useful, to solve problems and build things and provide for their families. When charity takes those opportunities away, even with the best intentions, it doesn't lift people up. It hollows them out.
You turn supermodels into homeless people. In LA, apparently. In Cali, I don't remember which city. In Cali, though.
Lupton also made a distinction that I like a lot. The difference between betterment and development. Betterment does things for people. It improves their conditions in the short term. Development does things with people. It strengthens their capacity. It's the embodiment of give a man a fish versus teach a man to fish.
That's so true. And I think like China's really smart about this. Because this is another thing that most Americans would never know unless I tell you. Like literally when growing up, you would see factories in China, right? Like different car factories, because my city was known for the car manufacturers of like one of the biggest car manufacturers of China. And then I just remember Toyota and Honda or whatnot, all those companies, if they wanted to sell cars in China, they have to work with a local company in order to do it. And they have to teach teach the Chinese factories or Chinese people how to build the car just to sell the car. Obviously, they made a lot of money, so it's a win-win situation. But the government never just wanted, the cars to sell and then people make money. They actually wanted the companies to come here and teach the locals how to build, how does it work, so we learn the technology. And eventually, all these cars become replaced, and China has its own self-developed cars, and now it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, car manufacturer now in the world. Like it's actually such a smart display, real life display of teach men how to fish, and we become super fishermen. I mean, I'm not Chinese anymore. I'm Chinese American, but literally, that's how China's growing so fast, right? They always want to learn how to fish instead of trying to get a fish. I think that's such a cultural difference of Chinese people and some other cultures.
Betterment feels good and it shows quick results. I mean, if you give a panhandler some money, his day is immediately better.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Look at this guy. Why is he begging for money? Go work. Go find a job and work. If it's identified this person just cannot work, well, you belong in rehab, right? You should be in a rehab and do directed work. Because there's always work. Every shop that you go down Austin, there's like, oh, hiring labor, hire this, hire that. There's always job. Like I just had a friend who was a player of one of our teams who came to Austin. He found a job, like he came here on day one, he found a job from day zero. Like he literally found a job before he came. He just called the owner, yeah, come. And then they want to try him out immediately. There are tons of restaurants looking for workers. There are tons of service industry looking for workers. There are tons of work. Just go work. Why is he doing this? I don't understand.
Better. His long-term situation, not so much. Development is slower, messier, and not very Instagrammable. But development is what actually changes people's lives. And most charity is stuck in betterment.
Yeah.
So this pattern isn't limited to private charity by any means. Government assistance programs, they create the same dynamic, just on a much larger scale. During COVID, the government sent larger unemployment checks that often paid people more than their actual jobs.
Bro, that is so true. Like when we got the checks, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But it was, at the time, I thought the market was going to crash because like nobody was having jobs. But it turned out government sent so much money that money had nowhere to go. That's when I started understanding, learning more about economics or whatnot. It then flew to NVIDIA, right? We just saw NVIDIA stock starting from a pandemic, right? It's still rocketing up right now. But literally government giving money to everyday Americans is such an interesting dynamic. Where did the money come from? The goods value didn't increase overnight just because you give it more money. Just because you call this cup now $200 instead of $100, the cup's worth more. It's still the same cup. You just artificially inflated the money, which is so unfair for people who earn their money. Because like I earned $100, and all of a sudden you give me $100, you tell me this cup is worth $200. Like, bro, I couldn't afford it if I just make $100. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense. The artificial pumping of money is such a government scam that's created by governments all across the world. It's not just like United States. If you read the Bitcoin standard, you will know exactly what I mean. Oh, my book is upstairs. It's literally, it doesn't make any sense, right? The artificial pumping of money. And I think it's related to this as well.
For millions of workers, the rational move was to stay home as long as the checks kept coming. And many did as long as they could. Now, that's partly a judgment about people who made that choice, but more so an observation about incentives. I mean, if you pay people more to stay home than to work, how do you criticize them too much? The same issues run through food stamps, housing vouchers, disability programs. They provide a genuine safety net for people who need it, but they also can create what economists call a benefits cliff, where people's apparently rational choices help them stay poor for decades.
That's so true. Like, I literally know a family in real life, I'm not gonna name names. The lady just doesn't work over 14 hours a week. She works, I think, 13 hours a week, because I don't remember the exact number actually, because I had a conversation with her, and she proudly told me this is related to her benefits. Because if she worked more than an hour, she wouldn't be qualified for the benefits she can claim from state welfare, and that shocked me. You know, literally, because you could have much better life, you work more, but no, because my current life is good enough, right? Like, why would I have to work my ass off to better my life a little bit when I can do it for much less and get a bunch of assistance from the government? All those people can actually work. They just choose not to because the government enabled it, which is so sad.
What ties all of this together? Private charity, government programs, mission trips, food banks. It's a question that almost nobody asks. Are the people we're helping becoming more capable or less? Most charities don't seem to even consider that question. Hey, as always, if I mess up something serious here, let me know. I'll fix it in the comments below. You can find my source notes, all sorts of stuff down there. Okay, so if charity often creates dependency, what actually works? Because there are people and organizations
Teach them how to fish.
getting this right. The difference is how they think about the problem. So emergency relief is the clearest case of charity done right. After an earthquake, a flood, or a personal crisis, no one worries about dependency. I mean, if people are dying or need medical care, you send them what it takes to make them right. That's not toxic charity, it's saving lives and helping people. The issue is when help never ends. I mean, most charities are built for relief, and they never make the transition because relief is easier to find.
I truly think charity should remain as like emergency relief only. And that's number one. Number two is for animals, right? And also for the planet, right? To clean up the ocean, clean up the lake, the community can do it together. All of those charity, I think, are fine. Like the time when you're helping a nation like Haiti, constantly, those all need to stop, especially on a government level. I didn't even know those are happening. Like, how much tax dollars do we have to give, and then to fix the road here, right? To take all those camps outside the street. Why is it happening? Why is it people in Haiti getting all the support and they're getting poorer for some reason, right? More money you give them, they're becoming more poor, and then the Lake Austin still smell like piss. This needs to be fixed.
It's easy to feel good about. A photo of a hungry child, that gets donations. A photo of a microfinance training session, that's a little harder. But the organizations that actually reduce poverty are the ones that deliberately shift from relief to development. On an international scale, we've seen that happen successfully. Bangladesh emerged from overwhelming poverty to become a low middle income nation within 40 years. In the 70s, they shifted from handing out food and relief to long-term development. The key was treating causes, not just symptoms.
It's similar to what China is doing in Africa. I think that the African people love Chinese government, and it's so strategic too. Like what the government is doing in Africa is they build infrastructure and then they involve the local community to do it with them, right? So like a lot of African friends I have love Chinese people because like they don't just get money, they get a job. So it's never like just hand out here's some money, here's some food. No, it was they build infrastructure and all those people now have a job and they learn the skill and they call themselves engineers, technicians, and a lot of things are being tested over there and they're actively involved in those projects. That's so cool, right? Because that's how you truly earn a place in a community because they feel like you're building something together. and they need your guidance, but at the same time, they're learning something to help their own community. And when the people are gone, the local people still know how to do it. That is so cool, right? Obviously, I don't know if it's mentioned here.
The goal was self-sustaining people, and millions of households have graduated out of extreme poverty with that.
I don't know if America's doing any of it. Because it seemed like what we're doing with Haiti is like, brother.
Rwanda took aid after the 1994 genocide, but it also pushed its own development agencies. After it learned to say no to donor priorities that didn't align with its long-term goals, it reduced extreme poverty by a third between 2000 and 2017. And it says it's no longer looking for charity, but investment. I can point to a good number of similar examples.
So look at China, bro. China's always looking for investment. That's so smart. Now you think about it, right? I have never, growing up, now I think about it, I've never heard of like Chinese government. Like it was poor before, right? Like everybody was poor. The government never asked for handouts. It's always looking for investment, like opportunity to grow and build the industry locally in China, which make China like such a strong powerhouse, a big global rivalry of the United States, like a power that's worth a global attention. I mean, now you think about it, this is so true. Human nature will destroy a person. You should not give handouts.
Because infrastructure and education and justice systems, when they're in place, job creation does what no charities can. Some churches and food banks are using the same principles. Instead of just handing out free groceries, they've created food co-ops where families pay a small amount, maybe $3 or $4 for $30 worth of food. The families do the work, boxing, sorting, distributing. They're customers and contributors, not just recipients. Other organizations have turned clothing closets into thrift stores that teach job skills. Soup kitchens have become catering businesses run by the people who used to eat there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Help doesn't disappear. It changes form from handout to opportunity. For me, when I look to give,
I think like you need to give people a job instead of giving them money. Like just give them a job, right? If you see a thief coming to your house, stop. How about a job to clean my yard? No, at that time you just shoot him. But that's what you do.
My own grown children. I mean, I'd certainly help them out in an emergency. In fact, most of my personal charity is through GoFundMe and GiveSendGo. For development, it's clear that the best parents, they don't do everything for their kids forever. They help them grow and gradually withdraw support because they love them. The goal is children who can become adults who can stand on their own 2 feet and build a worthwhile life. So again, I'm not arguing that we should stop giving to charity, but I do hope that we can take a closer look at how. It's not just about whether we feel good afterward, it's about whether the people who received it eventually need it less. Let me wrap up by going back to Africa, because so many people look at that continent and see permanent poverty and endless charity. It seems like nothing works to help Africa improve, no matter how much the world tried to help.
I don't know anything about Africa, by the way.
So, is Africa
I'm not really
a
that
lost
interested
cause?
either.
When I posted this video, a lot of people instinctively commented yes before even watching. But there are statistics that will surprise you. And
I haven't watched this, but I think it's going to be a great video. Like, if you're interested, make sure to go support or follow Ken LaCourte. This guy's a goat. I mean, again, if I had him as my history teacher, I don't think I would fail literature. I have to drop the class because it was so bad. I couldn't remember any names. My English was also not that good. But brother, this is such a good topic because I feel like America is too generous and it's actually backfiring for everyone. You know, especially it's also related to how the society is getting so soft, and then there's just so much unlimited, unsound money, right? Soft money, fiat money being printed. That's why I'm also advocating people to buy Bitcoin or having some of it, have some sort of sound money, gold, or investment instead of having the money sitting as cash. Your cash is turning to trash, that's for sure. This is not a financial advice, but literally stop doing charity the wrong way, bro. Like literally, if you see a charity, like any charity or charitable works that ask for money, I think most of them are scams. Just don't do it. Unless you can see a clear path of where money is going. And it has to go to a job, have to go to development. This makes total sense, aligns with everything I've learned. It makes sense with human nature. And you should not really just give people money, especially people on the street, able-bodied people begging for money. We should not incentivize that behavior. And I think the police, the government should clean that up. Because you will never see that in China. Like I compare both countries because I have culture from both countries, right? Literally, you don't see that. You go to any major city. I implore you, like if you haven't gone to China, go to China. You will see how behind we are now as a country in the United States. Like go to any major cities. Actually, go to lower tier cities. You will not see people on the street begging for money. That like you just don't see them anymore. So, but here it's like tent everywhere, piss everywhere. So, bro, that need to stop. Anyway, this is my 2 cents. What's your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys next time.